At the same time, Ding Fanqiu was still putting on airs. He did not know that he was standing right before the gates of hell. If Ding Fanqiu answered in the negative, Lu Zhou would not hesitate to use the item card. Indeed, I'm heading toward the Measure Heaven River. Elephant King can maneuver through brambles with ease. Come on up. The disciples next to Ding Fanqiu made inviting gestures as well. The faint glow in Lu Zhou's hand vanished instantly. I'm advanced in age and can't move around very well. I'll take you up on her offer then, Lu Zhou said calmly. Old man, are you going to Measure Heaven River as well? Ding Fanqiu asked. Lu Zhou stroked his beard and nodded. He said, You seem interested in Measure Heaven River. Ding Fanqiu chuckled before his expression turned calm and cold. He waved his arm ostentatiously. As if on cue, Elephant King bent its front legs to lower the chariot on its back. Ding Fanqiu's disciples noticed that Lu Zhou had been addressing their master without any honorifics, so they were furious. However, there was nothing they could do. Ding Fanqiu stood at the side with his hands on his back. He did not seem to care about Lu Zhou's attitude. Instead, his attention was focused on little Yuaner. Meanwhile, Lu Zhou calmly stroked his beard. He looked left and right before he lightly jumped on Elephant King's back and entered the chariot. Little Yuaner was unwilling to do the same. However, seeing her master's actions, she had no choice but to get on the mount. Since Master is here, I don't think these people will be able to do anything. The chariot was spacious. Lu Zhou and little Yuaner sat on the side where they could see the forest. Soon after, Ding Fanqiu leaped into the chariot with light movements and sat on the other side. After he issued an order, Elephant King continued forward. Its footprints were deeply imprinted on the ground with each step it took. Its speed was also acceptable. Lu Zhou was quite pleased. He nodded and said, It's not easy to tame Elephant King. Ding Fanqiu said indifferently, Elephant King is nothing. I have 10 other mounts at the back of Golden Court Mountain. Little Yuaner rolled her eyes when she heard this. Go on, brag some more. Ding Fanqiu saw the expression of disbelief on little Yuaner's face, and he asked good-naturedly, Little girl, don't you believe me? Little Yuaner replied, The only person I believe is my grandfather. Ding Fanqiu regarded little Yuaner solemnly. Then he turned to look at his female disciple outside before he shook his head lightly. The expression on Lu Zhou's wizened face remained calm from beginning until now. He continued to stroke his beard. Elephant King continued on for some time. Master, the 2 cultivators who escaped from us last time are up ahead. One of Ding Fanqiu's disciples' voice rang from outside. Kill them. Ding Fanqiu said indifferently. Understood. 2 of Ding Fanqiu's disciples flew ahead. It did not take long before the sounds of killing could be heard from the forest. After a short while, the 2 disciples returned as though nothing had happened. Ding Fanqiu pointed up ahead and said, There's no need be afraid, old householder. Although I committed many wicked crimes, I'm a reasonable person. Lu Zhou nodded and said, Me too. Ding Fanqiu smiled brightly and said, I think we'll get along well, old householder. At this moment, Elephant King stopped moving. Measure Heaven River is up ahead. Ding Fanqiu stared ahead before he leaped off Elephant King's back. Ever since Lu Zhou comprehended the heavenly writing, his ability to sense aura had improved. When Ding Fanqiu had dismounted, he discovered that the aura Ding Fanqiu had released was extraordinary. It was not difficult to tell that Ding Fanqiu had intentionally released his aura. When little Yuaner sensed the aura, she shrunk back slightly into Lu Zhou's arm. Lu Zhou stood up slowly without any changes in his expression. Let's go. Lu Zhou and little Yuaner leaped off Elephant King's back with light movements and landed on the ground. Ding Fanqiu said with his hands on his back, Little girl, how long have you been cultivating? More than 5 years. Little Yuaner said with a proud expression on her face. 5 years at the divine court. A shocked expression quickly flitted past Ding Fanqiu's face before it disappeared. He pointed at the girl next to him and said, She's very talented as well. However, she's a far cry from you. Lu Zhou stroked his beard indifferently and looked in the other direction. Little Yuaner rolled her eyes again. She did not think that a counterfeit was worthy of being compared to her. She turned to look at the other two cultivators. She blinked her big eyes and asked, "Both of you are in the divine court realm as well?" The two cultivators looked proud as they nodded, still a little too weak. Little Yuana mumbled to herself, "Little girl, if it weren't for my master, I would have torn you into a million pieces for disrespecting the evil sky pavilion." Little Yuana scoffed before she began to bicker with the imposters. "We'll see who's going to tear who into a million pieces." Zhou shook his head and looked at Ding Fanqiu. "My granddaughter has always been unruly." "That's all right." They continued their journey. When they came to a ravine, they came to a halt. Beyond the ravine was the Measure Heaven River. Zhou stroked his beard and looked in front. Unfortunately, things remained the same, but the people had changed. The fish dragon village no longer existed. In his memories, this place had been full of villagers and fishermen. He did not expect to see a barren and deserted ravine in its place now. He decided to start with the officers who were fishing corpses from the riverbed first to get to the bottom of the fish dragon village incident. While Zhou contemplated his options, Ding Fanqiu, who stood with his hands on his back, said valiantly, "Many years ago, I dominated the Measure Heaven River. I fought against many elites here, and the battles lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. We fought with our avatars. For that reason, this area was unfortunately reduced into a ravine." Zhou asked in confusion, "This is your doing?" "Yes, indeed." The record regarding the destruction of Measure Heaven River's Fish Dragon Village stated that the culprit was Ji Tiandao. Suddenly, one of Ding Fanqiu's disciples waved his arm and said, "Master, the Azure Dragon Association's branch is up ahead. I'll drive them away." "Go on." Ding Fanqiu's disciple flew into the air before making a left turn, disappearing in just a blink of an eye. Zhou stroked his beard and said, "Azure Dragon Association?" When he was in Anyang, he had encountered the Azure Dragon Association's Anyang branch. He did not know there was another branch in Measure Heaven River. If the Azure Dragon Association's influence was so vast, their backer, the Nether Sect, definitely would not be weak. Ding Fanqiu spoke with pride. "The Azure Dragon Association is backed by the Nether Sect. Yu Zhenghai, the sect master of Nether Sect, was my great disciple." Zhou nodded indifferently. He would allow Ding Fanqiu to continue his act for now. Although the Azure Dragon Association only has small fries, it's much better to have these people clean up the mess for me. I want to save as many item cards as I can. They're too valuable. Ding Fanqiu said confidently, "Since I'm here, the Azure Dragon Association will crumble." A short while later, the disciple flew back. He bowed before he said, "Master, it's as you expected. When the members of the Azure Dragon Association heard that you're coming, they ran off in fear." "Very good." Ding Fanqiu waved his arm dismissively before he walked forward. Meanwhile, in the Crouching Dragon, Darknet's headquarters, "I have a report, Sectmaster. Old Senior G has been spotted near Measure Heaven River." Siwia opened his eyes. He rose to his feet slowly and said indifferently, "The Nether Sect has also received this information. There's no need for us to do anything. Impersonating the evil sky pavilion will certainly bring calamity to those people." "Impersonating?" The subordinate was taken aback. "Keep an eye on the evil sky pavilion. Also, where's the Master Fiend Temple now?" Siwia asked. "In reply to your question, Sect Master, Ren Booping is at the Green Jade altar now. He has the support of Zhang Yuanshan, the Sect Master of Righteous Sect Master." When Siwia heard this, he chuckled. His voice was low and deep. "The Noble Path and Fiend Path are working with each other for nefarious reasons. This is the greatest joke under the heavens. Sect Master, there's another report." "What is it?" "The leader of the Black Knights, Fan Xiuwen, went to the Evil Sky Pavilion before this, and his current status is currently unknown. Senior Sword Devil didn't wait for Fan Xiuwen, and his current whereabouts are unknown. I didn't dare to follow Senior Sword Devil. Second Senior Brother is a humble and gentle person. There's no need for you to fear him," Siwia said slowly. "I understand." Contrary to his words, he shuddered inwardly. It was no surprise his words did not sound convincing. Sect Master, there are quite a lot of activities at Measure Heaven River lately. Are you certain there's no need for us to monitor that place? Initially, Siwia planned to reject the proposal. However, after considering it, he decided it was better to be cautious. In the end, he said in a deep voice, "Leak this information to the palace. They should clean up their own mess." "A wise move, Sect Master. I'll get to it right away." Measure Heaven River. Zhou and the others approached the area from beyond the ravine and entered a crumbling courtyard. Two of Ding Fanchio's disciples lifted their hands and sent out their energy to open the courtyard's doors. After that, all of them slowly walked in. One of Ding Fanchio's disciples said, "Master, this is a rendezvous point. They won't dare to be tardy, since you personally came." Ding Fanchio nodded. The two disciples hastily found a chair in the simple and crude house before placing it in the middle of the courtyard. When little Yuan saw this, she said, "I'll go and look a chair for you as well, grandfather." After little Yuan left, Ding Fangqiu asked nonchalantly, "Do you know why I'm not giving you a hard time?" "Oh." Zhou stroked his beard and said nothing. Ding Fangqiu continued on, "If I did, that little girl would certainly hold a grudge against me." As expected, Ding Fangqiu coveted little Yuan. Zhou knew that something was off based on their conversation, but he continued to remain silent. Upon seeing this, Ding Fangqiu turned away. The other disciples thought Zhou was shocked speechless. They shook their heads. After little Yuan found a chair, she wiped it clean before placing it behind Zhou. Shortly after Zhou took a seat, footsteps could be heard approaching them from outside. It sounded like there was more than one person. "They're here." The door was pushed open as officers and soldiers filed into the courtyard. The officers carried a box in pairs. There were about 6 boxes in total. There was a strange stench from the boxes. It was the smell of rot. After placing the boxes on the ground, the leading officer cupped his hands together and said, "This is our catch for the day." "Is this all?" "The palace has ordered that the corpses we fished out from the river are not to be moved. Our deal will end tomorrow," the leading officer said. "It's too late to end it now." Ding Fangqiu waved his hand. "How dare you? There's nothing that the Evil Sky Pavilion is afraid to do." Ding Fangqiu's 3 disciples quickly unsheathed their swords and moved through the soldiers' ranks. Zhou calmly took a few steps back. The 3 divine realm court cultivators were like wolves that were set loose on a herd of sheep. Their swords gleamed in the light as the officers and soldiers fell to the ground one after another. Not a single one was left alive. After the killing, Ding Fangqiu stood up slowly with his hands on his back. When he saw Zhou's calm expression, he said, "Your courage is extraordinary, old householder. It seems like I misjudged you." Zhou stroked his beard as he looked at the boxes and corpses indifferently. Little Yuan asked curiously, "What is in the boxes?" "Bones. Human bones." Little Yuan took a step back with an expression of disgust on her face. She was not afraid of dead people, but these were fished out from the riverbed and put into the boxes. It was only natural for her to feel disgusted. Ding Fangqiu walked up to one of the boxes. He waved his arm lightly, using his energy to destroy the lid of the box. Zhou looked inside the box. These bones look strange. They're slightly translucent, like impure glass or white jade with a muddy coloration. Soon after, realization dawned on him. The Bai people? From his memories, he discovered the source of these bones. It was clear that the villagers from Fish Dragon Village had been dumped into the river. They were Yi Qianxin's people. In that case, why did the palace order people to fish the sunken corpses out? Ding Fangqiu and the others searched through boxes and shook their heads. It seemed that they did not find what they wanted. It was apparent these bones from the Bai people were useless to them. Zhou asked indifferently, "What are these bones for?" "Old householder, some things are better left unknown," one of Ding Fangqiu's disciples said. Zhou stroked his beard calmly and said, "Even the Evil Sky Pavilion is concerned about these things. This is how we've always done things." When little Yuan heard this, she muttered, "I don't know if this is how things are done. I only know it's lame." The disciples were not happy to hear this. Ding Fanqiu waved his hand and chided his 3 disciples. Enough. After that, the 3 disciples no longer dared quarrel with little Yuaner. They were confused as to why Ding Fanqiu seemed to be taking little Yuaner's side. Ding Fanqiu said, "Remove their paises 1. Understood." When Lu Zhou saw the paises, Lu Zhou stroked his beard calmly and said, "Should I tag along and widen my horizons?" "Grandfather, I want to go," little Yuaner said excitedly. She was interested in this matter after all. It was only natural for Lu Zhou to bring little Yuaner with him. She was more than capable to deal with divine court realm cultivators should the occasion arise. Ding Fanqiu looked at Lu Zhou and said, "There are many witchcraft traps near the place where the bodies are fished out. Aren't you afraid?" It was apparent this was not their first visit here. They were very familiar with this place. "There's nothing under the heavens that my grandfather is afraid of," little Yuaner said with a wave of her fist. Ding Fanqiu regarded little Yuaner with a look of satisfaction. "This is what I like. Nobody can blame me if something happens. It's best if something happens." They took the paises. After Ding Fanqiu's 2 male disciples changed their clothes, they left the crumbling courtyard and walked toward the jetty where the corpses were being fished out from the river. About 15 minutes later, they saw the jetty. Apart from the ships that were there to fish out the corpses, there were no other commercial vessels. Officers and soldiers were patrolling the area as well. Ding Fanqiu maneuvered the area with great familiarity. He walked calmly along the way. At the entrance, 2 guards with spears in their hands barred their way. Authorized personnel only. Ding Fanqiu's disciples produced the paises. "Those at the back," one of the soldiers began to say. "Please make an exception." Some silver was exchanged, and everything proceeded smoothly. If they were only fishing corpses for a day, the soldiers would not be able to make money through such means. However, these men had been doing this for a decade. They were unsure what they were fishing out of the river themselves, nor were they aware of the importance of the task they were carrying out. Rocks, rotten fishes, rotten shrimps, everything was taken away. After repeating the same routine day after day, they became apathetic toward their jobs. Little Yuana muttered under her breath, "Why aren't we killing our way in? This is so much more complicated." The girl whom little Yuana defeated turned around to look at her and said, "There are powerful witchcraft traps around here. Someone's controlling them." "Oh," little Yuana replied, "I still don't get it." They walked at a fast pace along the way. It was clear that this was not their first visit. The warehouse was up ahead. They easily avoided the guards. They passed several buildings before they prepared to enter the warehouse. Ding Fanqiu raised his hand suddenly. His voice was deep and domineering as he said, "Stop." It seemed like he had discovered something. He bent down and scrutinized the tracks on the ground. "There's a witchcraft cultivator around." Lu Zhou looked at the lines on the ground as well. Indeed, the soil was fresh. Someone had planted a trap here.